Hello and welcome back to another episode of Come Over for Dinner. I'm Bess Hawthorne and I'm joined by two very special guests, Ben and Stacey Bowen. Ben is the owner and doctor of dentistry at Moscow Family Dentistry here in Moscow, Idaho. He is a parish elder at Christ Church and a Logos School Board member. He and his wife Stacey have 5 children, 3 of which they adopted, and provide foster care for other children in need. Stacey works full-time in her home, which she often opens to host baby showers, class parties, and many other events. Welcome, Ben and Stacey.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit more about yourselves. I gave just a real generic background or a very simple background. Tell us a little bit more of the details.
You have it covered.
The end. Goodbye. We're done here.
Let's see. We moved here. Well, I moved here in 2005. He grew up here.
Okay. What made you move here?
We met in California. We were married. He moved back. He told me that he wanted to come back and be with his.
I still had siblings in high school.
Yeah, still had 2 siblings, and he wanted to come back and support them as they went through school. So the plan was that we were going to stay about 3 years. But I'm so glad we stayed.
You've been captured.
Yep.
Well, I'm glad you stayed. So you grew up here. You had siblings here. Is your family still here in Moscow, Idaho?
My sister still is here. My mom just moved this last year. She moved up to Coeur d'Alene, where I have 3 siblings up in that area.
Okay. So travel to Coeur d'Alene. That's always fun. It's beautiful up there. Ben is well known for setting up an outdoor kitchen and making pizza with his portable brick oven for various events in the community. He has helped raise money for the football team playoffs. This was last year at one of our games. When it was announced that his pizza was being sold, families dropped all dinner plans and ordered a pizza instead. When I was at the school and mentioned it, there were multiple people who were like, oh, okay, well, no, I'm not making what I was planning to make tonight. Pizza at the game. A couple of summers ago, I helped at one of the tables for the Grace Agenda, which our church hosts. It's a conference. They close off 3 city blocks and they invite all the people to have dinner. Lots of tables are set up with lots of food. And this year I volunteered to work at one of the tables and we served, head down, just serving all these people coming by for hours and hours. Once the food ran out, we started packing up the food and I kind of regretted not sneaking away and actually getting some food. I had some bites from what we were serving. I was a bit hungry. Most people were packing up, and as I walked to my car, guess who was still going? Ben and his crew of teens were still cranking out hot pizzas. It was one of the best pieces of pizza I've ever tasted. So tell us, Ben, how you started to do this. Like you create vats of dough. You've set up a system where you can be outside anywhere on a street. You can be at a football game. I know you've done other events as well. And you have this system where and volunteers, where you can consistently create delicious pizza on a large scale. So tell us a little bit about that.
So that was, the system has evolved. It started off on just like Friday family pizza nights. And that's
without
kind of where,
the oven.
Without the oven. This is pre-pizza oven times. And just trying to make pizza in a regular oven, which if you've ever done that, to get a good pizza, it takes like 15 minutes to cook it through.
Yes. Well, and if you have 7 people, 5 children, so if you have 7 people, 1 pizza at a time is pretty slow.
Exactly. So our birthdays are a few days apart. We get to the birthday season and we'll look for a family gift that is kind of our gift for each other. Mm-hmm. And one year Stacey was like, we should get a wood-fired pizza oven. Wow. And I am
Well, we were going to build one, or weren't we thinking that?
Oh, wow.
But I'm a Craigslist addict.
So if I need a new couch, I know who to say, hey, look for this couch for me.
And up in Sandpoint, Idaho was a Valoriani 140 pizza oven, which is like the Ferrari of pizza ovens. So
I wouldn't even know this.
It's the same one they have at Myelina.
Really?
Yeah. So it'll do 140 12-inch pizzas in an hour, which we haven't gotten it that fast, but we can do about a pizza a minute, though. So
that's incredible.
Yeah. That kind of took our cooking to the next level, but it was stationary. So they don't, when we got it, it was on a steel stand. And I had to rent a forklift to pull it off of the trailer. And it stopped moving where the forklift sank. So we put the oven down.
It was
and
there.
We cooked in it for a year.
Just in the yard.
Just stuck in the
Wherever
driveway.
it sat.
We'd pull out chairs around it and stuff. And I had an assistant who was getting married about an hour and a half away. And she asked if we could make pizza at her wedding. And so
Well, if the wedding's in our yard.
it kind of presented the problem of we got to make this mobile, and I have to scale up my production. So typical Bosch mixer will do about 8 crusts in the bowl, and I didn't want to spend days making 8 crust batches.
Right.
So the necessity to get into the Hobart range of mixers was there, and.
I'm hearing a lot of excuses.
Yeah.
More Craigslist finds. No, this
Well,
sounds amazing.
That's even better. There was a public school auction. One of my friends was there. No one bid on the Hobart mixer. And so he bought it for, I think, $10.
No.
But he went through it, and I ended up buying it at an increased value. But he did well on
He
it.
made a
I
bit
did
of a
really well on
profit.
it.
Yes.
So,
Both happy.
and I can make about 28 crusts. Yeah, 28 crusts in a batch.
That's amazing.
So all of a sudden, 15 minutes of dough work, and you've got 28 pizzas ready. Well, not ready, but the dough's ready for them.
When you increased your recipe, did you have to change it? Is that a thing?
The only thing
I know
that
for
changes
some-
is the yeast.
The yeast. Okay. I know for bakeries, I've heard that if you increase, there's certain things that you have to change when you do large volume. So I guess that's a bit of an experiment. Or you did have to experiment for a while.
So a lot of our friends got tired of our pizza.
When he was preparing
Sign
for
me up.
he was preparing for the wedding, we just kept, hey, can you come over for pizza? We need help.
Taste testing night.
Taste testing and see how many. It was also a time challenge to see how quickly they could do it. And they wanted to make a lot. So
I cannot imagine a pizza cooking in 1 minute. That's incredible. How hot is the oven?
It's about 850, 900 degrees.
And it's wood fired.
And you can make it too hot. So
Right, sure.
The pizza will catch on fire.
So do you have to keep feeding it wood?
Yes, yeah. We use an apple wood. It's a hardwood. It burns beautifully for pizza and smoking meats and stuff too.
Your first big event was the wedding.
Yes,
How many pizzas did you make?
150 for that one. We had dough for 180, but it was 150 that
Sounds
got
like
finished.
a pretty good buffer.
And we left a heap of pizzas on the table because they were still dancing when we left. So, and those all got eaten that night. So.
I can imagine because dancing requires a lot of energy. So those were some hungry and happy guests. What happened after that?
Well,
then
2 weeks
word
after
got
that-
out.
People heard the news.
Sarah's rehearsal dinner. So that's my sister. We did her rehearsal dinner. And was there any other events that summer? I don't remember.
I don't remember big ones, but that kind of got him comfortable. And then I think you kind of started taking notes and getting more of the supplies.
Because then you've got to start shopping for 50-pound bags of flour. So you can't just go to Rosar's and get a 2-pound bag of flour. It doesn't cut
Right,
it anymore.
Exactly.
So if we started buying flour almost by the pallet load, 300 pounds of flour. And because like Grace Agenda will go through 200 pounds of flour.
Word. I knew it was a lot of pizzas. How many have you made for Grace Agenda?
Our record, and this is it kind of, the crew of people that cook, there's always an effort to do more. So
They want to set another record.
Exactly, yeah. And it's so fun because it's not just the church people who are there. It's Grace Agenda happens that, I think it's the first or second week that students are back. So it's a Saturday night. It's hot. It's warm. It's hot in front of the oven. It's warm on the streets. People come and hang out. And I mean, the first year we did it, we were making pizza till about 10:30. So there was families that were walking by that were like, "What is this? This is free pizza?" And hand it to them and be like, "Please take more. Anything you don't take, I have to take home."
But how many did you make that first time? You made
360.
That's
First time.
incredible. Did you feel capable? I would have just been a nervous wreck.
No. I don't think I think you get to that beginning and you start to see the line form and there's this I guess
We can't do this.
we're just going to make pizza. We're going to do what we can do.
Just do what we do over and over and over and over. And you have a crew that helps you. Are there people that kind of come in and out, or do you have the same people that help every time? And I know it's your kids, your older kids, and Their friends? Or who do you
Well,
recruit?
so towards the end, since we try and be like the last people making food.
You are every year so far. You do have that record.
As other tables shut down, sometimes the people who want to will come and start helping us. So it actually turns in. So it is a crew of volunteers.
Thomas and Emily are your main.
Thomas is really good at cooking the pizza. I've got a good friend, Dave Abbott, who's a great pizza cooker as well. He started helping when Thomas wasn't as interested in it. And I think Thomas does a great job cooking the pizzas. Like he'll get 9 pizzas in the oven at a time, which there's the 3 on the very front are doing their final cook. The ones in the middle, they're solid enough to move. And the ones in the back have to like set up so they're enough to move. So
that's a big oven. I didn't realize it did that many at one time.
yeah, it's got a really wide deck. It's really, you've got to start the fire about 4 hours, 5 hours before you start cooking, so that it's hot enough to do the cooking that you need to do. And then it can maintain the heat with not a lot of fire in it, but getting to that point,
The brick needs to
takes
heat.
a lot of tending to the fire to get the oven evenly warm.
How do you know what temperature it is? Is there a gauge?
The color of the stone. So it's a brick
fancy.
oven. Yeah. When the oven's cool, the roof is black.
Okay.
And when it's hot, it's white.
How do you know it's too hot?
The pizza catches on fire.
Well, you have one of those.
I do have a little laser gun, but we've done it enough now that
Right. You
we know
can
when
just
it's ready.
eyeball it. Yes. Okay. So if it's too hot, how do you cool it down?
you cook pizza. Because as you're cooking food, but you have to move the pizza a lot when it's doing that. Otherwise,
It's burnt.
it just burns.
Okay. This is so fascinating. It is so interesting. Tell me when your next event is going to be. Do you have one planned?
You're doing a rehearsal dinner or something. But
She helps out.
She knows.
I'm the scheduler.
He just knows he's supposed to show up. She'll tell him when and where.
He loves doing it. And sometimes I just be like, no, that doesn't fit in.
It's not on our calendar. We have something else that day.
So last weekend we made pizza at a restaurant out in Troy, and it was a family that's celebrating 1 year of being in business there. So they're just a breakfast only, and people have been asking them since they opened. This is the Hot Plate right there at the gas station, that they should do a lunch and dinner menu. Mm-hmm. And so they wanted to celebrate their 1 year by doing pizza. So we were out doing pizza in Troy from 4 till 8, and it was. Stacey
Well, we
came
drove out to get some, and there was a line out the door, and I was like, never mind.
Turning around.
Well, one of the things that
when
we
he gets
don't
back.
have in our setup is a way we don't usually we just give the pizza away. But in a restaurant, it actually prints a ticket, and he puts the ticket up, and so he was making I do the dough, he was doing the assembly of the pizza, but he'd be like, "Hey, we're 45 minutes behind," and I've never had like the
Time crunch.
so yeah. When Stacey came out, there's like a 45-minute wait for a pizza, but
Really? That's a lot of people to show up because you do know how to crank them out.
yeah.
So for a 45-minute wait,
So we had dough for 200 ready, and we cooked probably 150 pizzas.
wow. And you sold them all.
Yep.
That's incredible. Because at the football game, maybe there ended up being a wait. Was there a wait at some point? I know I showed up early because I didn't want to wait.
We tried to cook them. We have them.
But there
pretty
wasn't
much
a wait
going.
when I showed up, but I was there early.
That was the one event we've cooked all the pizza. And what we did is we just heaped the table up with it, and then told all the football players free pizza.
I do remember that.
Remember
Yes,
that chart
at
across the
end.
field?
Yes. At the end, it was just like a free for all.
Oh.
The football players were running.
All the pizza was gone in
Gone.
probably 2 minutes.
Oh, gone. They were starving. It's a genius idea. Just out of curiosity, it just kind of struck me. Do you haul the hot brick oven home, or do you have to leave it to cool overnight?
No, you haul it home hot. So the fire sits like in the side or in the back of the oven, so wind never gets to it. But it will kind of pull a little bit of a vacuum in there, which sometimes chokes the fire off, so it will belch smoke as you go down the road.
With people wondering what is going on in front of my
Especially
we
in
come.
July and August when it's fire season.
Wow, yes.
So there is a metal door that you can put over the opening, so no cinders come out of it. But it sure looks like it is on fire. But
Well,
It's fine. It's
not
fine.
It's fine.
dangerously.
It's all good. It's all good. Well, a funny story I have, my son is in their son's grade, and they hosted a class party at their house. And the rumor was going around, I think this was for the Valentine's Day event. And so the girls at Logos for Valentine's Day, the girls in their class had done something like a breakfast or cinnamon rolls or something.
Yeah, they provided food throughout the day.
Some sort of food. It was a surprise. All the girls, provided food for all the guys, which was really fun. Just a friendship type deal. And so later the guys were like, we really should do something. So the Bowens were kind enough to open their home. But the rumor going around is that y'all were serving steak. And I asked Max, I'm like, I don't think that's accurate. I'm pretty sure they're not providing steak for the whole class. Like someone came up with that and just doesn't know what they're talking about. So he goes to the party and comes back and you had done pizza.
Yeah, I'm really kind of a one trick.
Yeah.
I'm like, that makes a lot more sense. It's also like, Max can drive himself. If I was still driving him, I would have just got to hang around and visit and you're happening to cook pizza? Oh,
anytime there's a class party, feel free to come on over because we always...
You always
sometimes we don't have much warning that a class party's occurring.
Well, I did kind of wonder that. Does Dad and Mom know that you're cooking steaks or that Thomas is cooking steaks for everyone?
Thomas is a dreamer. No, it's our pleasure though, but that was a funny one.
Well,
but pizza was what it was.
They always have a great time at your home, and honestly, teenagers love pizza more than steak. Most likely, most of them. That's a class favorite. So I've mentioned lots of things that you do from your home. Is there anything I've missed? Are there any other events that you have done that you would want to talk about?
Well, this is a silly one, but it makes me, because your son actually managed to come to this one too, but Ben has developed a friendship with Chan Sing, the local Chinese restaurant. So his name is Bach, and Bach called Ben and said, was he going to Vietnam? He was going somewhere. And he's like, I'm coming, I'm bringing you food. And so Ben texts me, he's like, okay, we've got dinner planned, dinner's taken care of tonight and it's fine. He comes home with,
Okay, so usually when you get Chinese food, it's in like a little,
a Chinese takeout
or something.
Tiny takeout container.
Right. So these were the large aluminum foil containers.
Like 8, 10?
5 or 6.
Oh, tons.
6, probably 6.
Plus
7.
like a box of Napa
and
cabbage.
all of his like bulk greens that weren't going to be good. So he works like 7 days a week for like the whole year, and then takes a month off.
Wow.
So his ingredients don't stay fresh. So when you get to that time, he's just like, get everything gone out of the restaurant. Sorry. And so, yeah, we were the lucky recipients of a feast.
But then we were frantically trying to find anybody. We put out
the
Instagram, and Thomas again was the most successful.
Yes.
And we had kids coming in, and
he had access to the teenage boys group chat.
Yes,
teenage boys, free food.
Well,
they're flying out the door.
Max, I think, showed up with a 9x13 pan.
Yes, he lived not too far from y'all.
Perfect.
And yes, he mentioned the text that went out, and then he showed me the pictures. And I'm like, I don't know what to send. Just take this pan. That way you can kind of divide a few little portions of things. He came back with that pan loaded.
It was perfect. We after it all went out, we had maybe one pan left. I think we did. It actually went. It was
great.
good. It was good. But
it's really fun.
That was just a funny
instant hospitality, spontaneous hospitality.
I feel like that's kind of what we do best is the spontaneous.
Sometimes it
approach
makes you just not overthink things.
Mm-hmm.
If you have the food provided, that's even easier. But, even when you don't, sometimes I've realized I overthink things too much when I'm forced into that position. Like if I'm forced to do something just on the spur and I can't overthink it and think, I need this, I need that, and another thing, it all works out and, you just do it. So
yes.
On those lines, what is one of the things that you might serve when you invite people into your home? What is one of your favorite menus?
So we were laughing before this podcast that we were going to talk about haystacks, but everybody's been talking about that now.
That does sound familiar.
Pizza is one of our favorite things to do because it feels like it's a treat for people.
If I asked for this recipe to post on my blog, they would put something like, you need a wood burning oven, a portable brick oven.
From Craigslist.
From Craigslist.
It's fine. It's good.
And by the way, I need a Hobart too.
But we tend to do kind of a Mexican
It's like a taco
taco
salad.
salad.
bar,
Yeah.
sure.
Just make what you want. Tortillas, chips, beans, meat.
Yeah, either one of those menus would make it very easy for people to just grab what they like. Build a bowl, or with pizza, you pick the toppings you like.
Yes.
What's your favorite? It's always a hit with kids.
And that's the trick. So you got to, your hospitality has to be aimed at the lowest common denominator.
Yes.
And that's your 4-year-olds.
If they're happy, the parents are happy. We're not
Exactly.
having a meltdown in the middle of everyone.
Patients or parents are so much more relaxed when their kids are eating macaroni and cheese or a cheese pizza, and and they're just, everyone's happy. But if they're like, no, eat your food. You can kind of see those
There's
little subtle
only
conversations
greens on the table.
and you're like, oh, I missed the mark on getting these little kids happy.
Yes.
So anyhow, that's kind of how I have focused.
I was just going to add on that note, you may, from this conversation, notice that Ben likes big tools. And so maybe
Power tools.
Yes, big cooking tools.
Wood burning tools.
All realms. Maybe a year or two ago, I had asked for an ice cream maker, and I was wanting just
That would be the perfect accompaniment.
put in your freezer.
Oh, yeah.
So I came home one day, and there was a crate on our front
Said
walk.
Craigslist on it now.
From Craigslist.
And he bought a soft serve ice cream maker that is so heavy. Like
a restaurant machine.
well, it's yes, but no.
It's a little smaller.
It's a little smaller than that.
It's like a
but-
countertop.
Okay.
That brings joy to the children.
That definitely
they
brings
can go
joy to
make
the
their
children.
little cone, and that has been so fun. But it's been so funny because it's kind of it's a Chinese something, and the directions were vague, and it got placed on
Maybe not even understandable.
It got placed on the counter, and I was cleaning before we really figured out how to use it. I was like, I'll just go ahead and move this, and I can't move it. It's too heavy. So there it sat. But
Now I need to
we know how to do it now, and it's the kids like it.
It's a party.
We all like it. It's fun. You've got an ice cream cone?
Is it something you have to plug in every time, or do you leave it plugged in all the time where it's always frozen?
You
Each
can.
time.
You can. You probably don't want to
But you
if
don't
you're not
want to.
having
Yeah.
ice cream every
No,
single day.
Yeah.
And it's really,
That would
it's kind
really
of
be
noisy.
extravagant.
Yeah. It's like a cruise ship.
Anybody want a snack or an ice cream cone?
After school snack every day. If that wouldn't cause envy in the fellow friends and classmates. Every day I go home, I have soft serve. So your typical menu when you have people over is usually Mexican bar or pizza.
Yes.
And soft serve. Okay. This is sounding really good. And very easy. It's something that's repeatable.
Well, we started dating in Southern California. I don't know if you've ever been to one of the little burrito wagons or something. Okay. Well, they'll have like a salsa bar out on ice, and there's like always a mild green, mild red sauce, and then a roasted red sauce, and then a sauce that you really shouldn't touch. So a lot of our dating was we'd go find one of these places, and actually Stacey had a favorite one too, and we would always go and get a burrito and experiment with the salsa bar. And so it's just kind of a application of that, I think.
Okay.
Continuation.
Which one of you ate the hottest sauce?
Oh, Tim.
Is there a competition?
I love hot sauce.
You did the 5-alarm, whatever sauce it was. Did you ever do the ghost pepper? Is that the hottest? Is that the
Pepper X, I think, is
Pepper
now
X.
the latest.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's the latest, greatest.
It's very hot, brutally hot.
Like one drop will make you send you to the hospital
Yep.
potentially.
Yep.
Okay.
We ordered a bottle of it.
I bet you did. Did you try this?
Not from
Stacey?
Craigslist.
No, I'm a bit of a disappointment with spicy things.
I'll do medium.
Yeah, mild.
Mild to
Ketchup is
medium.
so spicy.
Same. We'll leave the sauce on the side. Sometimes my husband will be, sprinkling something in that's hot or attempt, he'll pull it out. I'm like, let's put that on the side. Let everybody chop their own. Let's not go crazy with the red pepper or whatever it is. Red pepper on the side of the pizza. That's the key. What types, going back to pizza just really quick, what types of toppings do you like? What are your favorites?
Ooh.
Or do you do everything? I mean,
when you-
pepperoni's my favorite. That's what
Okay,
I've tried.
yeah.
When you do Grace Agenda, you do a lot
We
of
do pepperoni, we do cheese.
pepperoni and
Just
just
keep it simple.
Keep it
because you're
simple.
just doing a massive amount. And so
Yeah.
pepperoni, I would say, is
But
my
you have
favorite.
to tell them that
Yeah,
they
we've
claim that the
perfected
Thai pizza
Thai
is a
pizza.
hit.
Okay.
Stop. Okay, that has to come out somewhere. The next football fundraiser.
So it's a sweet chili sauce, the Mayploy chili sauce. You can just get it at the typical grocery store. Cilantro, pickled ginger, red onions, green onions,
Zucchini.
some zucchini, and
Cilantro.
barbecued chicken.
This is a health food.
It is.
You wouldn't
It's like
feel
a
bad
salad on
about
top
eating
of
this
that.
at all.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, basically.
Mozzarella cheese?
Oh yeah.
That one?
Yeah, mozzarella.
Okay.
I've tried it with a little zestier cheese. It's not as good. I think that cheese kind of mellows out the chili a little bit.
Do you ever do fancy things like the burrata cheese? You know, that's the new thing going around where it's kind of a
have
fancy
not.
mozzarella. I mean, that's really expensive for a crowd, obviously, but I didn't know if you ever played with gourmet ingredients.
You know, we'll put anything on a pizza, which it was actually funny. We were at a birthday
yeah,
party
I was gonna say.
for our neighbors' kids.
For teenagers.
For teenagers, and I brought all the typical teenagers, like, pepperoni and
Sure.
candy
You had
a bunch of
bacon
meat
stuff,
and
Yeah.
olives.
what they would
Yeah.
like, right? This kid comes out and is like, "Hey, do you have a bacon date pizza?" I was like,
What?
"No."
I've never
didn't
heard of
bring
that.
dates
Didn't bring
or
my
bacon.
dates.
He was really
Bacon,
disappointed.
but-
I know.
No.
Where was he from? Was it, or did his mom just happen to
This
do
is-
that?
yeah,
Wasn't like somewhere
I didn't chase that down much. I just was
particular
like,
country
I know.
that he'd had it in?
No,
That is
he-
so interesting.
They were from Idaho, I'm pretty sure.
Maybe his mom stumbled across this just really amazing combination.
But I do like to go over to like our custom meat cutters, lockers, and see what's either on special or like if they've got a good seasoned sausage. Sometimes that's really fun to, play with the local ingredients. When I did the big wedding, I went and ordered all of our fresh mozzarella from the Pie Safe. So that's a local creamery that made their own mozzarella. So
That would be delicious.
it was spectacular.
Speaking of large scale ingredients, do you order from a restaurant supply or where do you get most of your ingredients?
Yeah, there's my secret right there.
Ooh, the secret's coming out.
So the URM, cash and carry.
That's in Lewiston.
Down in Lewiston. And then when they added the chef store, that has a whole new variety of flours. So I've started cooking through some of those now. I started with a Commander high gluten flour and have used the shepherd. Actually, I'm a huge fan of the shepherd's grain. That's what I cooked my last gig with, was the shepherd's grain high gluten bread flour. It was good. I have a couple of, what are the other ones?
Oh, I don't know.
It's a high power.
I'm in charge of dishes.
Real quick, back to URM. What does that stand for?
It's URM cash and carry.
I don't know.
You
We don't really know
really
what that
might. I don't know.
He's making that up. We don't
You
know.
really might like our store. Bring cash and you'll carry your own groceries. We don't know.
So,
It's down in Lewiston.
but it's been very sad that Costco doesn't have a
Yeah.
good selection of bread flours. The only thing you can get there is all purpose.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, at least there's the cash and carry nearby because it's right next door, isn't it? Or really close.
Cash
Maybe
and
right
carry
around
is
the corner.
Yeah, on this side of the
And
river.
anyone can go shop there. You don't have to have a certain
No, yeah.
membership or anything like that.
Yeah, but bring your
in
truck
and walk
because
out.
if you ever wanted a gallon of mayonnaise, you can get it there too.
Oh my! Well, with 5 children, I can see how potentially.
Well, during the pandemic, like I don't know. I think you were in. Yeah, were you?
Could you make pizza
You
during
had gone.
the pandemic?
Oh yeah.
I mean,
Pizza?
could you find yeast?
Oh yeah.
Because we'd bought it at cash and carry.
Yeah, we'd buy the big
you
bricks.
had
of
I don't think
Right.
people were shopping there.
That's fair.
So you could go-
Yes, that's actually true. My sister found it. There was a 2-brick pack at Sam's Club. We'd searched for months, and she found it at Sam's Club, and probably scared people to buy this much yeast. But she got one, and I got one, and we were set. But yes, I didn't think about that. If most people are not going to go there and buy this massive amount of yeast, so you were set.
Yeah. So right at the beginning of that, like in March, you had headed down to San Diego. We were traveling down to California to visit Stacey's mom, and I dropped them off at the airport and went over to cash and carry in Spokane. Actually, yeah.
Oh,
Fancy.
Living large.
living really large.
I don't know. I just was like, well, I should probably get an extra 100 pounds of flour. And then, the sauce comes in 6-gallon per case. So I bought a case of sauce and, a couple bags of the mozzarella because you can just throw that in the freezer. So pizza galore during the pandemic.
It's amazing.
Really one of the best times for pizza.
If only you were around during Y2K with your pizza, I would ask, how much flour did you store for Y2K? Let's take a quick break. Are you searching for hands-on activities to help your kids explore the practical side of science? Look no further than your kitchen. Inquisicook blends food science and culinary arts into an engaging program that puts delicious food on the family table. Let Inquisicook do the teaching with lesson videos, reliable recipes, and assessment tools that put students on track for success. Their online platform is easy to navigate and optimized for mobile, so the learning experience can move from the classroom to the kitchen without a hitch. Inquisicook turns curious students into intuitive cooks, not just recipe followers. Say goodbye to the tyranny of the ingredients list and say hello to utilizing what's in season, what's on sale, or what's in the fridge. Visit Inquisicook.com to view sample lessons, then check out the recipe gallery to see just how crave-worthy science can be. Some of you listeners may not be old enough to know about the hoarding that took place for Y2K. The world was going to shut down. Computers, weren't going to turn over after the 1990s. And so everything would be on the fritz and the world would come to a halt and, nothing could work. And so, yes, there was quite a bit of stockpiling. So if you were doing pizzas at that time, I would imagine you might have extra flour, extra tomato sauce, extra mozzarella.
I think that was the first year of Grace Agenda, that we did the big Grace Agenda.
Oh, no.
Was it?
Wait, that's
No,
long.
no,
we
no,
were
not Y2K.
Oh,
2020.
oh,
The year of the
2020.
pandemic.
Oh,
I think it was our first
yes.
year with
Okay.
I think so.
Yeah. Speaking of doing pizza or Mexican, do you have a shortcut or a time saver that you would recommend? I guess, what I'm thinking just is prepping your ingredients ahead of time. Do you have anything else you do just to make it quick when people show up?
The dough is actually pretty low maintenance. So
How soon do you make it ahead?
I usually make it the morning of, and it just needs a few hours to proof. It's fine, So, yeah, I usually make it in the morning. You have to start the oven, like I said, about 4 hours before. Then you go shape the dough balls. So all of that dough needs to be divided up and into the right sizes, which it sounds daunting, but, you can go through, if it's, 28 crusts, you take you 10, 15 minutes to roll them out, to shape them into dough balls. Then those go into trays, and those get stacked, and then in reverse order. So you want to do the ones you did first to be the ones on top. And then, usually the ingredient, the toppings is kind of an expanding list. So it starts with just get the cheese ones out for the kids.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's always in the crowd one or two adults that are like, have we ever tried this? And so I'll send one of the kids in for the ingredients.
What ingredients do you have?
Yeah, exactly. So we've done a cream sauce trout, smoked trout, which is really good with some chives.
You did a hot dog.
We've done
That was a lot.
Was that an adult suggestion? For one of the kids?
It was fry sauce, hot dogs, and sauerkraut and some mozzarella.
Okay.
It was delicious.
I'm sure it was, actually. Any pizza cooked in that oven is probably going to come out pretty amazing.
Occasionally he'll do dessert ones.
Oh, you're just jumping in there.
I'm sorry.
You're still on the thunder.
And like pre-pandemic, we had a couple of jars of canned apple pie filling. Yeah, that were in the pantry, but we just hadn't used them. So those came out, and then I made a little like a streusel topping on it. Threw that in the oven. Oh my word, that dessert pizza is the next level. And then if you want to do like a s'mores, you get the marshmallows, some chocolate, graham crackers.
Oh my word! See, I haven't even had these ideas.
And then you want some just something easy. You put a little melted butter and some cinnamon and sugar.
And it's an instant cinnamon roll without having to do all the work.
Wood-fired cinnamon bun is like the best.
Okay, I have to take these ideas into my arsenal because honestly, I'm sure I've had dessert pizza way back in the day. There was, maybe it's still around. There's this pretty hideous place called Cece's Pizza. Anybody that has had one in their town, if you go, it's kind of one of those pizza bars that you can go up and just grab what you want. They had dessert pizza. It all tasted terrible. It was all, yes. So I think that's my last memory of having dessert pizza.
We're going to have you over.
We're going to have your dessert pizza. But I'm thinking, why haven't I done that recently? I mean, like if I've made homemade pizza, I always just think of, the typical pizza toppings and not dessert pizza for dessert. That's genius. Okay. I'm copying that idea.
So for Presbytery meeting last fall, we did, so they couldn't fit them all the attendees at the main dinner hall.
Yeah, because
so,
there were hundreds.
Yeah. So
300 or
over
400?
at there's an offsite facility. So we were the offsite location over at the new building, where the Venture Church was.
Yeah, I can't think of the name of it.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Okay,
The one
yeah.
that's next door to
The Kirker Commons.
Yes. In the Kirker Commons.
Yeah.
Yes.
So anyhow, we made pizza there, but we did breadsticks, which is basically, it was pizza dough with olive oil and some garlic salt on it. And then
Delicious.
we did regular pizzas, and those got served at each table. And then we did dessert pizzas, all from the same dough, same oven, And then the dessert pizzas got served with half-gallon ice cream.
Why didn't I have an opportunity to volunteer at this event? Just sign me up for the next one. Do you have any desserts that you serve besides dessert pizza?
Yes. So cinnamon buns. It's a potato cinnamon bun. Secret ingredient, potatoes.
So you throw mashed potatoes in this recipe?
Well, if they are mashed potatoes, but it's a combination of 1 cup of the potato water and 1 cup of the potatoes. So what I try and do is 2 cups of whizzed up potato water, but it has to boil. So you have to like simmer it down so that's it's like a thick potato soup.
Did you create this?
No.
I've never heard of anything like this before.
Okay.
Is it top secret recipe
no, it
from
is.
California?
He stole it.
I have to admit to some delinquency on this.
Okay.
I fished in Alaska for a summer. And the guy that I fished with was one of the professors at Walla Walla College, and he wouldn't share his recipe. And so the cannery that we fished for went out of business. We weren't going to get paid at all. There was a very sad few days. Well, we were just finishing up the season, wrapping up nets and stuff. And in a moment of
Hunger.
envy and hunger,
Hunger and depression.
I wrote down his recipe in the death section of my Bible. So it looked like a moment of devotion.
Sneaky.
So
Sneaky.
yes,
But it's been blessing us.
It has. It's been a great. So I'm actually glad I didn't get paid because I feel okay.
You did get paid.
Okay about having the recipe.
That was your payment in full, debt paid off.
Yeah, so it involves just boiled potatoes and the water. So the water that comes off the potatoes is just rich in starch, right? And then you add so it's 1 cup of the potato water, 1 cup of the like dried potato or the steamed potatoes. But I kind of mash that up into a 2-cup slurry.
Okay.
And then let that cool to about 110 degrees or so. That gets thrown in with 2 eggs, half a cup of sugar, half a cup of oil, 1 tablespoon of salt, and then 1 cup of bread flour, and then finish it with all purpose. So cinnamon bun dough can be, if it's too sticky, it's hard to roll up into the cinnamon bun, tears apart. Okay. So you got to get it to the right texture that way. So it ends up being about 5 cups of flour, but yeah. And then it's spectacular. Like the dough is so
Stomach is
it's almost
growling.
explosive because it's success when they'll almost unravel vertically. So it's fantastic dough.
I don't think I've ever made dough
and
that
it's
good.
the right kind of chewy. And so like sometimes cinnamon buns are kind of a crumbly texture, like the gluten doesn't really develop in them. So I like this recipe because it has that pull apart dough that's doughy, not too chewy like a pizza crust. Not that I'm opposed to pizza crust.
But you're opposed to the chewy pizza crust.
Yes. So
Some people substitute all-purpose flour for bread flour, but it seems like it's pretty important to have both in this recipe.
you want the structure, yeah.
Bread flour is higher in gluten.
Yes,
is that
it is.
right?
Yep.
And you recommend now you use the shepherd's grain?
Yes, I do.
What else, if someone didn't have access to shepherd's grain, which is, I'm guessing it's just Northwest states that have shepherd's grain. I'm not sure. I've never seen that in the South. They might ship everywhere now. I'm not sure. But if they didn't have that, what would you recommend, say, on a regular grocery store shelf?
So what you're going to typically see is all-purpose flour and then bread flour. And usually if it's bread flour, it's going to be like 10 to 13% gluten, maybe 14, I don't know, 14. 14 is probably a little high, but the all-purpose doesn't have as much of the gluten. You can still develop it, and the gluten will come around, but it's not as thick. So if you're in an emergency or in a place that's low gluten, you can always get a product called DoPep. And DoPep is the isolated gluten from wheat. You can actually add gluten to your flour and create bread flour.
Where do you buy that? I've never heard of that.
In any of the bulk sections, it's just DoPep or DoPep.
It's
or
not.
what is it called?
It's just gluten flour, I think.
Gluten?
I think you can get it at Winco, but it's not.
Okay.
It's not called DoPep. It's called some.
Well, I call it DoPep.
Well, I know
Okay.
that's what it is.
Pep up your dough. Makes sense to me.
We'll have to look and see what it is. I think it might just be gluten flour.
Okay, so when he turns his head, I'll open my Bible to the death section.
Ben, do you want to read your Bible?
Ben, can I borrow your
Yes.
Bible at church on Sunday
You got the recipe.
before the prayer of confession?
First thing.
I'll be scribbling madly. Then we'll do the prayer of confession and it'll all be okay. So this top secret recipe.
Not anymore. We shared it.
Okay.
It's out
You
there.
know I do post recipes. So now that we've talked about it, it's a must. So definitely look at the website. How did you learn to divide the dough? How do you have, in an outdoor setting, how do you have the means to roll out your dough? I mean, obviously, when you started with, you kind of built up to it. Like you got your oven, then you got the right mixer. Tell me a little bit about that.
So every event presents a new set of problems. So it's kind of an evolving process. So like last year, so I'm about 6'4" tall and 6 feet 4 inches, and none of the tables are tall enough for me to comfortably work the dough.
Well, your back at the end of the night was probably killing you.
Exactly. So my neighbor has a sawmill and happened to have some scrap. It was like 12 by 6. So, and then I just cut that in half. So I actually gave the table a 6-inch lift kit. And so now my back doesn't hurt when I work the dough.
Problem solved.
Problem solved. When I was just making smaller batches of dough, just a regular Tupperware container would hold 3 to 4 crusts, which that's enough for a family for dinner. But when you start doing 24, we ran out of dough space. So there was a commercial kitchen supply here in town, Fork Refrigeration, that they're not in business any longer, but they had pizza dough trays. So I bought a couple of those. I was like, well, that's genius. That makes the dough doesn't stick together. It's easy to divide. You can pull it out, and you're not having to tear it apart because like the integrity of that ball, you have to kind of protect it. If it all glues together, by the time you get it into the flour, you've already worked the gluten a lot. So if you can keep it in that ball without having to divide it up, it makes it a lot easier. So having that extra space. So then I went from 3 or 4 of those trays to like 15 of those trays because then I was like
scaled up as you needed to.
And then so 6 in a tray, 24, in four trays. So that's like a batch, and then just kind of scaled up as we needed it. And the oven itself came with all of their old cooking utensils, pans, peels, everything. So we have like 60 pizza trays, which fortunately they just fit in a tote in the barn.
Good thing you have a barn.
If they had to go in the kitchen, Stacey would have made me take them to Goodwill.
That's true.
So
you do have to have a place to store all that.
Yeah. So it's just kind of as we've needed it. And as you're like, man, next time I need to have this. Then it's, it's something else to search for on Craigslist.
Another find for your birthdays.
Happy birthday,
yes,
Stacey.
Happy birthday, Stacey. I bought a new fill in the blank.
For us.
At least she has her soft serve machine.
Yes. Just eat ice cream in the corner.
Right. What's your next request, Stacey? Put it out there now.
I know. We have to be careful. That you're very descriptive.
Exactly. Well, that is so much fun. And that actually ties into hospitality, just the experience of you kind of figure it out on a small scale. And then when you think about, for a lot of people, big scale is very daunting. But if you figure it out on a small scale and then you do a little bit more and you do a little bit more, and not that you have to host giant events. It's not that everyone has to host, 50 people or 100 people or throw a rehearsal dinner. But if you are put in that position, if you have those muscles in place and you've kind of learned some recipes that will scale up and you've learned how to do it and you have a little bit of equipment on hand, you can get there. That's a really cool story. And it's really delicious pizza, and I can't wait until I hear the rumor mill spread, the fact that, there's going to be a pizza oven set up somewhere. So when you have people over, what is your best prep tip? How do you prepare for them coming into your home? Do you do anything in particular?
Well, we try to clean it up a little bit.
With 5 kids,
it's kind of impossible.
You're just like, come into our life. We're living.
When I was looking at your questions, I was kind of thinking like,
just open the door.
We open the door and that it's manageable, but also that maybe hopefully it's relaxing that like, it's okay if you spill that.
Yeah.
Because somebody spilled there before.
Pizza, Moscow weather does not often lend itself to outdoor events. I mean, the summers here are beautiful. It's absolutely gorgeous. But there's so many months of the year when you can't. So if you're doing pizza, do you bring it into your home? Somebody's out cooking outside and then you have it inside?
We probably do most of our pizza when we have people over. We probably do it mostly in the summertime. But he moves the trailer.
I move it closer to the
house, and then we just go out the side door and bring it in and out.
So do you often would you say more of your events are outside or inside when you have people over?
I would say more of them outside.
Probably outside, the bigger ones. It's just easier.
We've already done a couple this year.
Yeah.
That actually makes it easy when you're talking about prepping. It's they're outside.
Hospitality, we made the pizza on Friday. I had some leftovers, so we had some folks over on Sunday. We made, the oven was still hot, so we just made pizza. And, the hospitality was having a campfire set up for the kids to roast marshmallows in. So, easy.
Yeah.
That's a really great tip as well. Just make it easy on yourself. A campfire outside with some s'more ingredients next to it, that's a kid's dream. It's a kid's dream. What is your best advice for making people feel welcome when you invite them into your home? How do you make them feel like you want them to be there? Besides pizza, we've kind of already come up with the answer.
S'mores, pizza,
ice cream. An ice cream machine, dessert pizza.
Well, we have
around a fire.
Our little ones, 5 and 6, and they feel like it's their job to be standing out.
And they're
ready to direct.
So adorable. They're
traffic and let you know what was going on. But I think that's kind of a fun way, especially if it's maybe someone we don't know. Mm-hmm. They're these little people so excited to meet the new friends
and point them in the right direction.
Yes,
I think the way, and I've already said it, but it is to make parents comfortable and feel welcome is to make their kids feel welcome. So that hopefully that takes that stress and anxiety of, boy, I hope my kids do well there. Have you ever been going over to someone's house and be like, you finish the food? Mm-hmm. Or you say no, thank you.
Right.
But, by planning a meal that the kids are thrilled with and or excited about or will at least eat a piece of. And I have no attachment to whether or not you eat the salad. I don't care. But I get a little offended if the kids don't eat my pizza.
I hurt his feelings. That's probably why he came up with the s'mores.
If they don't eat my pizza, they better eat a s'more.
Right. At least the s'more pizza will be gone.
Or just eat the marshmallows off the top. I don't care.
Something's wrong with the child if they're not eating any of that. Where's the zucchini? Pretty great.
We tend to just keep it very simple, I would say, and just
have fun.
Come into our life and enjoy it with us.
Yep, absolutely. What is your must-have kitchen item, and where can we find it?
Hobart.
Craigslist.
For the normal person.
Man, I can't think of anything in particular.
Rolling pin.
Speaking
Oh,
of
you were
rolling pin.
rolling pins. You were
Yes.
scale.
Rolling out
You like to use your scale.
Oh, the kitchen scale.
Okay, so kitchen scale and rolling pin. You obviously have probably found one you really like. So what would you recommend on those two?
It's a Winco one. It actually will do an entire load. Not Winco, the store Winco. It's Winco, the commercial brand.
That was my first thought too. There's a
What?
grocery store here called Winco, similar to Walmart.
Oh, yeah.
But no, I was like, Winco, they sell that?
So the typical baking scale will do up to about 10 pounds or so. But when you're doing, 28 crusts, it's closer to 15 to 20 pounds. So that was a very sad day when I found out that because you're banking on your scale measuring all that and it shuts off. You're like, oh,
Now what?
I got to guess the rest of this recipe.
Oh no. Because
So-
you're expecting to add ingredients and be weighing.
Yeah,
each
in a 20-quart
ingredient.
bowl. Yeah. So, yeah, it helped to, so it just like aired out and then shut off. And so then I went to a more industrial grade scale. So that was kind of a little splurge for myself. Didn't come from Craigslist.
Winco.
That was the Christmas list.
Yeah. And then the Fancy Association of Pizza People, which there is one, doesn't permit the use of rolling pins. But I don't care. This is Idaho. It's the land of the free,
Is
home of
this
the
like
brave.
if you do a contest or something? Like if there's a pizza contest, you can't use a rolling pin?
Yes, if you're applying for like membership within this association of the margarita and marinara pizzas, there is one. There's actually I think it's a 14-page document of the thickness of the crust, the way that the dough has to be worked and stuff. But when you're making them like we do, so that the first moves are all the same, then the rolling pin just does a real quick job of and then you can throw the dough. So a rolling pin is just a fantastic tool.
Did you say what brand you use? You may have.
Of rolling pins? You know what? It came from the Pie Safe. I actually got it for a birthday present several years ago, but it's made out of tamarack and it's just right for, it's not a small one. It's like probably a 16, 18 inch peel or a rolling pin. And it does so great for my crusts.
I've heard of marble, but not tamarack. That's interesting.
Yeah. If I ever needed to, I could burn it. I would be very sad.
Perfect.
That's great. Well, I'll have to look at the pie save next time I'm there.
Dough scrapers too.
Tell me about dough scrapers.
Okay, it's like a flat piece of plastic. They're
Okay.
usually less than $1. But I tell you what, if you're like trying to like scoop up a pizza crust that's like ready to go, if you can just like slide right underneath it, right into the flour, and it's a fantastic tool. In fact, I will grind the entire pizza operation to a halt. Be like, where is my pizza scraper? Where's my dough scraper?
What about the thing you cut it with? I mean, do you have one?
Oh.
What the separator? I mean, obviously it's what is that called?
Pizza cutter.
Pizza cutter.
Yes. Okay, you mentioned that.
Yeah, so my kids actually, it's kind of become like
Thinking of that
the Father's Day
just
tie type thing. So I have like one that looks like a table saw and one that's like a full blade. It's like a rocker blade.
Yes, that's what I'm thinking of.
Those work well, but the ones that are like the commercial grade ones, they are sharp and they do a great job of cutting the pizza. And just a tip for your listeners, when you go to cut a pizza, cut once, cut all the way through. Don't sit there and go chick, 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 chick.
The public service announcement.
Just please,
From the
please,
expert.
for the rest of us, cut the
Go
pizza.
back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Good pizza cutter? Like what is your okay, so that would be a rocker would be a pizza cutter. Do you have a wheel that you what did you mention a brand on?
I don't know if it actually came with the pizza oven, but it's probably a big like 4-inch pizza cutter.
You want a good big sharp one.
Yeah,
Okay.
just splurge and get yourself a good pizza cutter.
Okay. All right. These are great tips for making pizza. If a person happens to not have a portable brick oven, any tips for cooking in the oven? Like when you are doing it on a smaller scale, do you have any tips for cooking in the oven? Do you like cook at 500 degrees or?
You basically get it as hot as you can get it.
Okay.
Pizza stones, those will help somewhat, but just get it as hot as you can. That's what pizza loves. It loves hot temperatures.
In like 10 minutes or 15 minutes, something like that.
It depends on the
15.
oven and how
Well, I don't
dark
know.
you want your crust.
That's true. Because I'm thinking I've done pizzas 425 for 15. So if I had it at 500, it'd probably be less.
I think that's what, isn't it Papa Murphy's love at 425 degrees?
Yep. this. Like, no, they go for 800. Wimps. Amateurs.
425 is for rookies.
Do you have a story from all of your years of hospitality, cooking pizzas,
But it
having
doesn't
people
involve
over?
pizza.
That's okay if it's a good story. We
It
take all
involves salsa.
stories of every size and
sorry.
shape.
This was a mistake.
Ben likes to
Admitted to that.
experiment.
You know, that can turn out. That can turn out.
Well, this is a story where
This
it
one
didn't.
may not have, though.
I was making salsa, and I had forgotten spicy peppers. I didn't have any jalapenos, habaneros, didn't have any. But I did have ginger.
Stacey was glad.
I know.
And ginger in a salsa is a bad idea. Lots of ginger. I mean, it was like a whole root of ginger. It was way more than you should. It wasn't just like an accent flavor. I was trying to use it for the heat, and it just was horrible.
Oh,
it was a bad situation.
ginger
I think
pizza.
there may have been even some nausea afterwards.
Oh, and you know, isn't ginger an anti-nausea?
I think in the right dose.
Not when
Very
you
small
overdose.
increments. An overdose causes the opposite effect. So the ginger pizza didn't get eaten.
The first, I'd never had the oven too hot. So that was something that we learned. So we arrived at the wedding probably 2-3 hours early. It hadn't started yet. We started the fire up and really like loaded it up, kind of anticipating getting it super hot. And the thermometer goes to 1100 degrees. So that's when you know you're
Too hot.
So yeah, too hot. So we kind of brushed the coals out and put a pizza in, and it immediately caught fire. Just like the ingredients were like, phew.
Explosion. Incineration.
And so there was this, like, we weren't going to have a time to cool it off before we actually needed.
Yeah.
So we were like shoveling coals out and into buckets of water to like turn the fire down. So it was one of those like learning experiences with, oh no, we might not have the oven cool enough to cook, and terror. And then
Terror on every side. Any other disasters? Has the fire department ever been called?
Not
As
for
you're
pizza.
going down the road with smoke coming out the back
We have had fire department out
for other
fire-related,
emergencies.
but not food.
The house that we moved
Oh.
into, they had planted probably about 3 times the density of trees that they should optimally for healthy trees. And so for years, I would just kind of cut the trees out, put them in a slash pile, and they'd dry for a year, and then you'd light it on fire. And every time I would light that pile up, the fire department would show up. So we live on a hill
worried
about 6
neighbor
miles
call?
away from town. So you could actually see the flames of the fire from town. So people were calling it in from town.
Well, now we're really going down a rabbit trail, but the funny thing is that had happened probably 2 or 3 times. And I remember I was always kind of nervous about it, but like, okay, everybody's calm. They left and we're good. Well, one time it happened again, but it was worse.
Much smaller pile.
And it was smaller. And anyways, it was a problem. and it
It was fire extinguisher time.
when it was all said and done, Ben says, I'm just kind of concerned why the family wasn't out here worried about this.
We had taken hot
And I
dogs
was like-
down to like cook hot dogs over this. Like it was a little brush pile. It wasn't a big deal, but it was October, late October. It had rained the night before, and I was like, sure, it's not going to catch fire. Nothing will catch, but it was dry, and it did catch. And when things get dry enough, and you start trying to put them out, and
wind is
and it just
blowing.
gets bigger, then we start running. And I was running for fire extinguishers and the tractor and stuff, and so
We were just enjoying the bonfire.
Stacey and the kids were just like getting ready to like put on some hot dogs.
Right,
I'm
you're
like,
like, okay, no. This is it's growing. It's getting out of control. Well, you'll have to the next time maybe alert the fire department, or when they show up, here, we have some pizza going.
I know. Pizza, hot dog, we're
hand them
good.
some hot dogs.
Yeah. Bonfire,
Would you like one?
anyone? We've got s'mores set up. We've got some pizza.
Party at the Bowens.
Right.
Are you sure you want your kids coming over?
Fire department party. That's pretty great. Well, thank you so much for joining me today and for taking time out of your very busy schedules to come and tell us all the hot pizza tips, literally the hot pizza tips. I really appreciate it. And Yes, I will see if I can get a recipe. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if a recipe can scale down for us novices.
Oh, it
But
can.
if I
Yeah.
can get
He
a
can do it. He can
recipe,
do it.
I will post it on comeoverfordinner.com, and it will be on the blog post that I put out for them, as well as the index under something, wherever it fits. I don't know. There might be a pizza pasta section. I don't know. I'll have to see.
Italian.
Italian
There we
section,
go.
specialty menus. There is a specialty
Oh.
menu section
Well,
that may go
fantastic.
there. We'll see. You'll have to search for it, guys. And I'll try to come up with some links for some of their favorite products as well. So that'll be on the shop page. All right. Until next time. Bye for now. If you have a minute, scroll down to the bottom of your podcast page where you see my list of episodes. You'll see a place to leave a star rating and a review. If you could tell why you like the podcast, this review helps new listeners to know what the podcast is about and why it's worth their time. Thank you.